Hey, what's up guys? It's HoveringBanana and we're back with another Rocket League trading video. In this one we are going to be talking about the worst items to trade in Rocket League. About 1 or 2 months ago I did a video on the best items to trade in Rocket League and you guys seemed to really like that one. So I decided to do the opposite side of the coin and talk about some of the worst ones. Now these are items that I found difficult to trade over my several months of trading. So what I'm going to list is definitely not fact or law. Some of these items you might have a method of making profit with. Maybe you want to share it in the comments to help some people, I don't know. But to kick things off, we are going to start with the very first item, and that is individual painted toppers. Now I say individual painted toppers because we are going to talk about the set version in just a bit. I did a video, one of my early ones a few months back, a guide to trading painted toppers, and back then I said it was quite viable, not the best for beginners but definitely open to profit. However, it seems that the supply of them was just too high, with them being really easy to get after games, and the values have really dropped to most of them being about like 20 cents to 33 cents. And when you're trading painted toppers at that price range, you're not getting really good returns and it's not really worth the effort. However, we look at painted topper sets and that gets a bit better. A lot easier if you just buy an entire set and try to flip that for some profit. Or you could look to complete a set by yourself, but then I still feel that the demand for those isn't the highest, so it's not the greatest option for trading. Next up, we move on to individual unpainted uncommon wheels, and that follows the same kind of suit as the painted toppers. If you have a look at my inventory, you'll see I have about 600 to 700 uncommon wheels, and that's because months ago they were very good for trading. They were probably the item that I really focused on. However, the prices just seemed to keep dropping and it was just very difficult to trade them individually. There are a few exceptions to this though, with the more popular uncommon wheels, the ones that go for about 2+ keys. Stuff like Black Tanikas, Black Daichi, Black Sunburst, you often hear me talk about these. These are the good painted uncommon wheels to trade. However, the vast majority of them are pretty bad for trading. But if we look at painted uncommon wheel sets, those are a lot better for trading and I've had good success with that. I've had good success flipping a few painted Tanika sets, but I've also sold and made profit on like Ohm sets and Invader sets. So if you do have a bunch of painted uncommon wheels, rather look to complete the set and sell that, and it will generally be a lot quicker and easier than trying to sell them individually. Next, we move on to burnt sienna items. Now I'm sure most of you know about burnt sienna. It's sort of a brown golden color, and most people don't like that brownie customization option. For that reason, most of the items have very low demand and often have a very low price. Another thing that hurts burnt sienna is the stigma attached to it, where simply having the name burnt sienna can lower the value of an item. But there are a few burnt sienna items that are good for trading. Examples include burnt sienna voltaics, burnt sienna loopers, and burnt sienna tachyon is another good burnt sienna item to trade. Next, we move on to unpainted exotic wheels. Now these do have decent demand. A lot of people do like regular volts, regular photons, regular loopers, that kind of stuff. However, I think the supply is just way too high of these, and for that reason the value really gets hurt. You see most of these uncommon wheels go for below a key, most at about like half a key. And like we mentioned with the painted toppers, it's not really worth your effort to try and trade those and make some profit on them. One of the big reasons why the supply of these is just so high is that they can't be traded up. People will do trade ups on their rares, very rares, imports, trying to get painted versions at a higher tier. But when they get to that exotic tier and it's unpainted, it ends up just sitting in the inventory with nothing to do. And for that reason, I wouldn't suggest trying to trade unpainted exotic wheels. Next, we move on to not one item, but more of a group of items. And that is items relating to an unpopular car. Now if we first take a look at some painted decals for a popular car, such as painted Lone Wolves for the Octane, or painted Buzzkills or painted Griffins, these have decent demand, fairly good demand actually. They'd be good to trade individually or even better as a set, and they are for the Octane, which is the most popular car in the game. But then you take a look at some items for some unpopular cars, such as the X-Devil Cobra, really difficult item to trade. Same thing with your Masamune Kawai. That one's also a difficult item to trade, not many people looking to buy those. And you'll sort of see this as a recurring trend with items relating to unpopular cars, so you generally want to avoid those. Next up, we're going to talk about a more specific item, and that is fidget spinner wheels. Now, upon release, these were kind of laughed at and they were considered very ugly, so they had low demand and the prices really tanked on these items. I have a few in my inventory, and shortly after they were released, maybe it was a week after, I managed to buy some orange ones and some lime ones for 1 key each. Most of the price sheets at this stage were listing them at 3 to 4. Felt that was a bit high, but I thought I could at least get 2 keys. However, you can still see that they're in my inventory here, and to this day I've struggled to just sell them for 1 key profit. So I would really avoid trading fidget spinner wheels just because most people consider them to be ugly. There are other wheels that follow the same kind of reasoning. Another pair of wheels is the Slk wheels, which are also new, but they're already at a very low price. You compare them to a very old, very rare wheel, the Chakrams, which were in the very first crate, and those are much higher in value, whereas the Overdrive crate was only released like 1 month ago. So the lesson to learn here is if a wheel is considered quite ugly by the majority of the community, it's a pretty bad item to trade. On to the next item, which is going to be hyped items or overhyped items. Now this is low down in the list because you definitely can make profit trading these items. However, I wouldn't suggest it if you're a newer trader because you can certainly get yourself burnt and lose out on a lot of keys. So a few examples of items that are currently hyped or have been hyped are the white loopers, the crimson loopers, the white voltaics, and the white octane. Now these can be dangerous to trade if you are an inexperienced trader. You might buy when it's at its highest point, then the price crashes on these and you end up losing a lot of keys. I usually say this often to beginner traders: rather stick to the stuff that is safe and stable, make your 1-2 key profit doing item flips, and once you've got a bit more experience, you can try out the riskier stuff. And the final item in today's list, and one that might surprise you guys, but hopefully you can hear me out for the reasoning on it, and that is striker certified items. Now trading striker certified items is like the main niche market in Rocket League trading. The two big aspects of striker certified trading is having the understanding of what you could sell the item for, as well as the patience to wait for a buyer. Just to give you an example, about a month ago I bought sky blue certified striker wheels for 40 keys. The base value was about 30 at the time, and I managed to flip these for 52 keys, so that's about a 12 key profit. That's really good for that kind of trade, but I do think you can also still get more than that. But it did take me 1 to 2 weeks, I can't remember exactly, to find a buyer for the item. Now if you were inexperienced in striker trading and you bought those sky blue Dracos for 40 keys, maybe after a few days, after getting no invites for the item, you start dropping the price, you panicking a bit, maybe you even decide to just give up and sell it for less than you bought it for, taking a loss. And that's why I include the striker certification in this list. Definitely not the worst item to trade, but it's not for the faint of heart. And that wraps up today's list on the worst items to trade in Rocket League. Do you agree or disagree with some of the items that I listed today? Or maybe you feel I've left one out? Then let me know down in the comment section. But as always guys, thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.